Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale with a video that I know you guys are really going to enjoy. I have a new pro that I'm going to welcome into the channel here. It's SushiPayPay from Synergy. He's a great guy with a ton of valuable information that he shared with me to share with you guys about the Electro Hog Cycle deck. Now he's gotten to top 10 global with this deck, and rest assured guys, not only is this guy a great ladder player, but he has over 365,000 challenge cards won in a maxed out Electro Wizard. This guy's an absolute stud. Oh, and quick side note guys, make sure you listen to the end where I announce 5 giveaway winners. So what I want to do now guys is put on the first replay, and then I want to give you a brief synopsis of what you can hope to take away from today's video when it's over, if I do my job correctly. So first we're going to talk about a brief intro to who SushiPayPay even is. Who is this guy? How did I find him? I'll give you that info in just a sec. We're going to talk about this deck archetype. It's a very cheap speed cycle deck, 2.6 cost on the deck. So we're going to talk about what advantages that has and how you can use that to take advantage of your opponent in the match. Furthermore, we're going to get into defensive play style, specifically the cannon card, where to place it and when to place it. The Electro Wizard, we're going to talk a great deal about how to use the Electro Wizard specifically in this deck. Then we're going to go ahead and move on to offense. With this deck, we're going to talk specifically about the Ice Golem and how strong that is right now in the meta, and of course the Hog Rider. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to it here by first talking about who SushiPayPay is. Well, he's a brand new level 13 player. I found him because I saw that he was one of the first players in the entire game to max out the Electro Wizard. I know Pompeo did as well, and a few other Chinese players who I can't pronounce their names, but I don't really count them because it's basically a whole host of people playing those accounts. These guys did it on their own legitimately all by themselves, so in my mind, they get credit for maxing out this Electro Wizard via the challenge. That's a lot of challenges won, my friends. You guys can do the math, but how many legendary cards does it take to max out a legendary card? Okay, I'll give you the answer. The answer is 37. 37 challenges won by SushiPayPay. Granted, it could have been 33 because technically he could have appeared in the shop the day after that he unlocked the Electro Wizard, but either way, that's incredibly impressive. Now, he's from Synergy, the Synergy clan has such a great reputation amongst the top ladder clans in the game. They've been able to maintain and preserve a really stellar reputation, and so does Sushi himself. It's just been nothing but a great guy to deal with. So now that you know a little bit about him, let's get to his deck. So this guy provided me with a Google Doc breakdown of this deck, so I have a lot of information from him to deliver to you guys, so let's get right to it. So this deck archetype is obviously a cycle deck. It's a 2.6 cycle deck, very speedy, and it consists of both the Ice Spirit and the Skeleton. So 2 1 elixir units in this deck helps it cycle faster, and they can be used for kiting on defense, buying you a lot of extra time, and certainly the Ice Spirit in particular can stall and allow you more time to get that cannon back up in your cycle defensively, and so on and so forth. But that said, the real reason the deck is so cheap is so you can cycle to your Hog Rider before your opponent can cycle to their counter. So given the current meta, you'll likely have to deal with multiple Hog Rider counters. For example, either Tombstone, Inferno Tower, Cannon, of course Boulder, Elite Barbarian, Skeleton Army. There's just a lot of counters out there that can go against your Hog Rider. So you have to play this deck a little bit differently than you do a traditional Hog Cycle deck. Let me try to look to see, by the way, where Sushi is at this current moment, at the time of this recording, on the global leaderboard before I get to how you play this deck differently. Oh, look at that. He is number 8 right now. Number 8 in the entire world. So very, very impressive. And this is the first season that he's actually pushed because he just got to level 13 and, you know, playing 37 or whatever Electro Wizard challenges, plus however many he didn't win in that journey to max out his Electro Wizard. But anyway, this deck, you play it a little bit differently than you do a classic Hog Rider deck, or really any classic deck. And what Sushi recommends is starting out aggressive with this deck. Starting out aggressive because of the fact that once people know your rotation, they know that you're playing a very fast Hog Cycle deck, and this again is mainly because because most people have at least 2 counters, sometimes even more, to your Hog Rider in their deck. So you can see Sushi on the bottom in this match right out the gate. Ice Golem, Hog Rider, and he does a lot of damage, and he forces his opponent to play a freeze spell. Sushi here is just really punishing the opponent, and now look, another push. Again, the Ice Golem in front, the Ice Spirit to freeze those Elite Barbarians, Skeletons to distract, and look at this, he is going to almost take that left tower, and then he's going to rely on the Cannon and the Electro Wizard on defense, protecting his tower from taking any damage, and because it's a cycle deck, he's already able to cycle back to the Ice Spirit, the Ice Golem, everything that he needs on defense. So what a great start, and that is really a textbook start for this new, more modern version of the Electro Hog Cycle deck. So now he's going against 2 pumps. Kind of a mistake there is he's able to get a lot of value off that fireball, almost taking down that tower. Now he can totally forget about that left tower and just concentrate with still a minute and a half left in this match on that right tower. So we talked a little bit about how to play this deck mentality-wise. So the tempo is going to be aggressive out the gate, and you can kind of rely on the stoutness of this deck. It has a lot of kiting potential, as you just saw on the screen there, with the Ice Spirit and then the Skeletons distracting those. Look at the Elite Barbarians. They're running all over the place, basically everywhere but the tower. A ton of kiting potential in this deck, so you can afford to be a little aggressive out the gate, and then once it gets to double elixir time, in the last minute of a match, or into overtime if you get there, then you're going to want to change your philosophy just a little bit, or your mentality rather, a little bit, and what you want to do then is start comboing the Fireball offensively with the Hog Rider and the Ice Golem still leading the way. And that brings me to the Ice Golem. As an offensive tool, the Ice Golem will almost always be used as a tank for your Hog Rider. The Ice Golem obviously provides an insane value if placed correctly in front of the Hog Rider. This is typically done by placing your Hog Rider on the outer side of the bridge and then placing your Golem right in the middle of the bridge. That way he can safely remain behind the Ice Golem and hopefully push him ahead into the lane at warp speed. I'm sure we've all seen that there. Actually, it's happening right now on the right side of your screen. So he's going to be pushing his tank, his damage meat shield, ahead of him, the Hog Rider that is, and that will work out really, really well for you. And that's one of the best offensive combinations in this deck. Essentially, you're using that Ice Golem as that incredibly valuable shield to take down a lot of the counters to a Hog Rider, such as Skeleton Army, even minions or minion horde. You can just use the Ice Golem death damage comboed with the zap spell, and you'll get a great positive elixir exchange out of the deal, and your Hog Rider will get to the crown tower unchecked. So the Ice Golem is basically a huge shield and an inhibitor to really do a great job protecting your Hog Rider. Now, speaking of Hog Rider, he is your win condition, as if that wasn't obvious. Its use case is typically in conjunction with the Ice Golem, but it's not a necessity. So knowing when to play the Hog Rider requires you knowing your opponent's cycle, and it's very important that you guys try to master learning your opponent's cycle, what they're going to counter your Hog Rider with, and what their best counter they have in their rotation to counter your Hog Rider. So if you have a good cycle, you can play your Hog Rider and bait out their counter, and then cycle back to your Hog Rider before they have a sufficient counter in hand to counter him on the second run, if that makes sense to you guys. So again, you want to play the card much more aggressively initially because your opponent will have adapted to your Hog later in the match. Now, additionally on the Hog Rider, guys, it's very important to know building placements, and what building placements that your opponent can make will pull your Hog even if you use a piggy push on the Hog. So for more information about that, I'll go ahead and link an OJ video that he did all about building placement. He probably can do a better job than I can, especially in this one video describing it, so I highly recommend you guys go ahead and check out that video when you're done watching this video. So that's basically offense, guys. Your Ice Golem's going to be your big counter. You're going to come out the gate aggressively. Later on the match, that's when you're going to start comboing with your Fireball or your Zap, depending what they counter you with. You can kind of guess their defensive placement and then predictively go ahead and shoot off that Fireball to combo with the Hog Rider and, of course, the Ice Golem. Now, what about defense, and what about the Electro Wizard? So defensively, the cannon. The cannon should be used conservatively until you know whether or not their win condition exclusively targets buildings, such as a giant, such as a hog rider, for example. If it does, the cannon should initially be played in a 4-3 configuration. Again, if you want tips for exactly what these configurations mean, go ahead and consult the OJ video, but if you know what they mean, go ahead and just continue listening. So in the event a pig push is coming in your direction, you play a 4-2 cannon, and if you know they have a fireball and they have a hog, play a 4-4 cannon. If they pig push and have a fireball, sometimes you can play a 4-2 cannon to bait the fireball, and then once baited, you can play support cards to clean up the hog. Now, it's probably worth mentioning that if your opponent's win condition doesn't target buildings, cannons can be played more flexibly to stop pushes, like Elite Barbarians, which are of course everywhere right now. So what about the Electro Wizard? So the Electro Wizard, if you're lucky enough to have him, by the way, if you don't have the Electro Wizard, and my apologies for not mentioning this sooner, I'm sure some of you have already commented asking for a sub, but if you don't have E-Wiz, go ahead and substitute either Ice Wizard, Mega Minion, or Musketeer. No matter what card of those three that you choose, you're going to be pretty well off. You're mainly going to be relying on that card as a defensive stopper, especially when your opponent catches you out of rotation with your cannon. So the Electro Wizard can be used to clean up smaller units, but it's mainly, as I said, going to be used as an alternative to the cannon if the opponent catches you off cycle. For example, if they fireball your cannon down, you can play the Electro Wizard to clean up the push anyways. Knowing when to use the zap feature of the wizard comes with practice. You'd usually zap the troops with the wizard in an isolated situation where no other troops can shoot down your wizard easily from where it's placed. However, if you're dealing with a large push, it would be safer to play the wizard off to the side so it can slowly chip off that big push damage coming your way. Now, when dealing with Hound and Balloon decks, you guys know that's the deck that I used to first unlock the Electro Wizard, and then subsequently I was actually lucky enough to win another 2 Electro Wizard challenges, so now I have a level 2 E-Wiz, yeah buddy. If you missed that deck and you want to check it out, I'll include a link in the description to my Hound Balloon deck. It's actually not my deck, but it's the deck that I used. Actually got the deck from Gabe What's Up Guy, one of my clanmates. So how do you deal with those Hound Balloon decks? Well, the Electro Wizard is essentially your big answer, your only answer. Your opponent will try to fireball the wizard down, so be sure to place your Electro Wizard just far enough away from your crown tower to avoid the fireball hitting both the E-Wiz and the tower. That's a great value for your opponent, as it is a hard counter 4-for-4 elixir fireball versus E-Wiz, and then they get damage onto your crown tower, so that's a big no-no. Make sure you're very careful with your Electro Wizard placement. So as someone who plays the Hound Balloon deck often, especially in challenges now, when my opponent places that Electro Wizard just far enough away from the tower that I can't use the fireball, I normally will sit on the fireball, and that's going to be very good for you using the E-Wiz in a deck like this to defend. Now, if for whatever reason the person using the Hound Balloon combo does use their fireball to take care of your Electro Wizard, even if they're not hitting your tower at the same time, this deck at a 2.6 cost is actually cheap enough to usually cycle all the way back to the E-Wiz. In the meantime, whatever troops they're dropping, be it a Mega Minion or a Balloon, you can use your cannon to distract the Balloon, and you can use the rest of your troops to kite the Mega Minion or whatever else is coming down at you in the lane. So guys, that pretty much covers this deck. You can see Sushi, another great win there. This is actually the first match that he lost a tower out of all these matches, and this is one of those episodes, guys, that it would actually behoove you to go ahead and watch just the gameplay again. If you want to rewatch the episode, you can turn my annoying voice on mute if you want to, but just the gameplay is really stellar by Sushi, and that's the thing about these top players, is consistency, consistency, consistency. If you make a move, have a reason for that move. Again, here's the deck that we've been watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoy it. Wishing you guys a lot of success with the deck, and again, a huge thank you out there to Sushi, a great guy, great player. Really a pleasure chatting with him about this deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. So guys, as promised, before I let you go, I will announce 5 of the winners of our $50 holiday gift cards. To hear the other 5 winners, go ahead and check out POWERBANG Gaming's Gaming's channel. He announced the other 5. I'll put a link to that video in my description as well. And I'm going to butcher these names absolutely horribly, so I'll go ahead and email all the winners as well. But the 5 winners on my side were Shabham Sable, Sachin Kumar, Eren Azit Akuk, Basim, and Aniket Majaha. Okay, again, guys, I'll go ahead and email you all just so you probably couldn't even tell if your name was read. Most of the winners are from India or Saudi Arabia. So, guys, again, thank you all for entering, and we'll do another giveaway. This one went really, really well. We'll do another one soon. So, guys, be on the lookout for an email there from me, and make sure you check out POWERBANG Gaming's channel for the other 5 winners. So, guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.